Hey everyone, it's Blair here at Time Trades. Thanks for joining me again. Okay, so we've got a couple of new features in Time Trades that I want to review this week. And I also want to try and shoot for a shorter video. I thought last week's video was a bit too long. I want to try and keep it a little closer to 20 minutes. So I'm going to go pretty quickly through the content today. All right, so let's start with the first new feature. This is on the models page in Time Trades. And the models page, in my opinion, is where you find the gold, where you find the great trades. And we've been able to sort by the future probabilities for a while now. So you can click on the column header and you can then find those names that have the highest probability of a pivot or a move up or a move down. But up until 2 days ago, it was always a fixed time in the future. It was the mean probability was always calculated over the next 15 trading days. So the change is we've added this new time frame selector, so you can choose the time frame that you want to see into the future. And if you're a longer term trader, maybe you want to go with 15 trading days. And now you can see the average or mean move up 1 standard deviation over the next 15 trading days. And you can see the number one name here is BOIL, which is a 3 times ETF on natural gas, which is, of course, going to the moon right now. So this is a really interesting addition because this lets you tune those future forecasts to your trading style, right? So if you're a shorter term trader, you want to see what's moving tomorrow, you can just click on one trading day and we can see that it looks like Easter weekend is a good weekend for energy drinks and pot stocks, go figure. So we can see that Monster Beverage here is the number one, has the number one probability of all of the 800 stocks in the system. This has the highest probability of an up day for Monday the 18th. Okay, so this is a really cool feature and I hope you like it as much as I do. This was a customer-driven idea that I was able to implement relatively smoothly and I hope you like it. I hope it makes you money. Okay, the second new feature I want to talk about is something that we did last week, but I didn't really have time to talk about it on the video. And that is moon void, of course, and that is only in the TradingView script. So I'm going to flip over to TradingView here. And if you take a look at the time trades, here we go, script. So this is the time trades indicator. You'll see down here, there's a new checkbox and an item called moon void, of course. And this is very useful for intraday timing. I'll explain what it is in a second. If you do not see moon void, of course, here on your time trades indicator, you just need to delete the time trades indicator from your chart and re-add it. That should pick up the latest version that has this moon void, of course, feature. Okay, so what is the moon void, of course? As the moon transits through the month, it moves through the 12 signs of the zodiac and it makes aspects or angles with different planets within that sign. Now, as it comes to the end of that sign, whether it's Virgo or Libra or Capricorn or whatever, it will make one last transit. And then for the rest of the time in that sign, the moon is in what's called void of course. So the void of course period starts with the last major aspect with a planet in a given sign, and then it ends as the moon transits into the next sign of the zodiac. And this is an example here of Friday. So of course, the moon void, of course, time is identified by this orange box here. And it is plus or minus 3 minutes from being completely accurate. So it's accurate enough for our purposes. And the moon here was coming into making its last aspect with, in this case, it was a trine or 120-degree aspect with Pluto. Okay, so that is this void of course line is that last aspect. So you can see the ramp up into that aspect, and then like the minute that aspect hit, price fell apart. So what is the expected behavior during a moon void of course? I wish it was as simple as price always goes down. That's not the case. It's a little bit more complex than that. Often you will see reversals during a moon void of course, and also you will tend to see fake moves, fake outs during moon void of course. Okay, so if you want to learn more about the price behavior of it, I would suggest just turning on this feature. I like using the 4-minute chart in combination with the moon void of course, but hourly I think is probably a little bit too long. The time frame of a moon void of course, it can last anywhere from minutes to over a day. All right, so this is something that you should be aware of. It's of various different times. And we can also take a look. Here's another example here of Bitcoin just this past weekend. So this is yesterday, and again, we can see a ramp heading up into the moon void, of course, on the weekend. And in this case, it was the sun squaring out with Pluto. And then once that square out was completed, then the momentum stopped, right? It didn't really turn down aggressively. It just ran out of gas. So again, you can play these trades, coming up into the start of the void of course period, or you can look for trades after the moon void of course period. An astrologer will tell you not to start any major projects during a void of course period. So that also includes initiating any swing trades due to the likelihood of you being faked out and that sort of thing. I was successful in playing this void of course period in the queues on Friday, just with a small day trade here as I anticipated this move up completing and then it rolling over once the void of course hits. So those are two new powerful features that are part of time trades. One is the moon void of course, and the other one is the ability to choose your time frame in the models page. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's do our tour of stocks. So we're going to go over here and just start with Qs as usual. All right. Now, it was pretty much a sideways week with a very bearish endings, with prices closing right at the low of the week. So very ugly looking weekly bar, gapped right down over this magic level, couldn't get up over that magic level at all. We do have a little positive day forecast on Monday, the 18th. And we also have some pivot highs coming up here late May and June. But let's see if we can get a more precise forecast by looking at some of the other names here. In the spiders, we've got a pivot high April 28th and April 25th, and also a lower probability one April 19th. So that seems to be the dominant feature on the spiders, which puts me in more of a bullish or reversal type mindset. Although I think this bearish momentum from Friday will carry over into Monday's open. We will see how that plays out. Well, I'm just going to go back to the Qs here. One of the things I noticed about the Qs is we're actually pretty close to this magic level down here at 335. So I wouldn't be surprised if this bearish momentum carries over to Monday and see us tag this magic level at 335. That's been a very important level in the past. You can see how it provided support back here in January, resistance in March, and also if you scroll back even more, you can see how important it was last year in April and June. So my expectation is to see it come down, tap the magic level here at 335. Based on the timing forecast from the Qs and other stocks that you'll see in a minute, I'm anticipating a bullish week after this. We complete this little bearish move here from with some follow over from Friday. So I am anticipating a green week. However, price always rules, and we have to adapt to what price is doing for us. And if price ends up, gapping down over this magic level and coming down hard into the next white one here in 322, we'll have to adapt to that reality, of course. Okay, so don't get hung up on those time forecasts. We trade price just like everyone else does. Okay, so that's the Qs. Let's take a look at diamonds. And diamonds, again, we've got a pivot high here, April 25th. So that's looking also somewhat bullish, even though there's very little in terms of actual move up or move down. All right, so let's look at the major components of the Qs here. We've got Apple. This is one of the reasons why I'm kind of bullish on the week is we've got a nice cluster of 1 standard deviation up moves here on Apple. We've got a nice hollow or gap here in terms of down pressure. So it looks like we've got a tailwind for the bullish scenario for this week. Let's also take a look at Amazon. Amazon also has the same hollow here, which is nice. And it's coming into some pivot highs, April 26th and May 4th. And we've got a 2 standard deviation move up on April 25th. All right, let's take a look at Google. Okay, what do we got on Google? Again, predominantly bullish with a cluster of low probability 1 and 2 standard deviation up moves, and we do have a pivot low here, 22% probability of a pivot low April 18th. So this is actually a pretty nice setup with a pivot low on Monday and then a cluster of some up moves heading into a pivot high on May 3rd. So all that seems to align with Google. Let's take a look at Microsoft. Okay, Microsoft. Now the dominant feature here seems to be this huge pivot high late April, early May. So we're looking at April 28th, 29th. But there are still some 2 standard deviation down days there. April 25th, we need to be careful of, and also April 19th. So again, I'd rate this mostly bullish with a little caution around the April 25th timeframe. And again, we're seeing that April 25th date pop up on a lot of stocks here. So that looks like an intermediate term high. All right, let's also take a look at the semis, the SOXX index. So this is another name that popped up on the models page, and you can see this cluster of 1 standard deviation up days heading into some pivot highs here. So it'll be interesting to see, kind of how far this goes up. I mean, this is a nice cluster, high probability up days. Remember, the taller the bar doesn't mean the higher price will go. The taller the bar just indicates the higher the probability, okay? So we've got some pretty strong probabilities of up days, but at the same time, that's also somewhat capped by these pivot highs over here. And a pivot high, typically once they hit, you'll see you'll see kind of like a V move around that pivot. So it looks like there's it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in reality. But with this cluster of moves up in the semis, it's hard to see a very red week happening on the NASDAQ. All right, let's take a quick look at bonds here. We've got the 7 to 10 year Treasury fund. Boy, it still looks bad, right? You know, we've got cluster after cluster of down day happening here. It doesn't look like there's going to be any relief until May. So it looks like it's going to be continued down momentum here for the 7 to 10 year bonds. There may be a few little brief breaks like what we had this week, but I'm not anticipating much, if anything, in terms of relief until we get to this low probability pivot low on April 29th. It's about a 15% probability. And we also see a little gap in the down pressure here. Okay, let's take a look at the 30-year. Now, the 30-year, I expected a little bit more of a bounce off of the key white magic level at 123. We did not get it. We got a strong move down through it. So again, the trend is down, and we are anticipating further moves down in the coming 3 weeks or so. Again, the biggest feature here looks like a May 10th pivot low coming off of an April 25th pivot high. So it's just more bad news for bonds in general, and that's going to definitely put a lid on how high stocks can go if bonds continue to slide like this. Okay, that's the bond situation. Let's take a quick look at crypto here. Now, Bitcoin is not giving us much of anything at the moment. So this is a good time to focus in on the price behavior and not the time forecast. You know, in a perfect world, we'd have super crystal clear time forecasts, and we just don't have that right now. So one of the things that price is telling us is that it's sitting right on top of this key magic level at 39,603. And if this continues to hold and we kind of regain this next one here, I would take a bullish stance just based on price movement alone. And also the fact that we've got this pivot low here at 28% probability of a pivot low for April 16th. So that was yesterday, that was Saturday. Again, the definition of a pivot low is they tend to have steep moves down into them and steep moves up out of them. All right, so we may be seeing a steep move here, but let price just make that decision for you. If we start to see price reclaiming magic levels here, it could go on a little streak and take out, you know, 2 or 3, or maybe even get up here to the next one at 50K. So, you know, again, Bitcoin struggling to get off the ground, but I think it will get there eventually. All right, let's take a quick look at Ethereum. Okay, again, Ethereum similar to Bitcoin, not telling us much. You can see how price was soundly rejected from this magic level here at 3580. I'd be neutral on this until it starts to reclaim some of those magic levels. I have adapted my trading style to make use of magic levels, and it's pretty much the #1 rule on my trading rules right now is to trade in the direction of the last magic level cross, right? So we had an attempt up here and failed. So after April 3rd, using that rule, we would be basically short Ethereum. And you can see how this attempt to penetrate 3571 failed, and then we crossed the next one down at 3443, came down to the next one here at 3165, bounced weekly, and then came down here. So in a perfect world, we would see this start to reclaim some magic levels, either right from where we are here or come down again and take out or tap 2886. That's this one here, before regaining some energy for a bullish run. Last bit of crypto I want to share with you, I found this on the models page, is Ziliqua. And this has kind of a crazy cluster of 2 standard deviation moves up. So like what I've just shown you in the world of crypto right now, I think is one of the biggest values of the time trades method, is just to be able to very quickly survey multiple coins to see what has the highest probability of a move coming up. And this kind of cluster of a 2 standard deviation move is very impressive. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is there's only about 4 years of price data here for Ziliqua, right? So it's not like we're basing this on 40 years, and this is still a forecast. So don't go YOLOing your life savings into this based on these big red bars here. Play it smart, play it safe, but this does look like the best probability crypto trade that's on the board right now for time trades. Okay, and we're going to wrap things up with a tour of our Indian stocks. We're going to look at TATACONSUM. We've been talking about that lately. Last week it was at about 812, so that was here. Closed at 817 last week, and it's starting to run out of gas a little bit, as it had a very strong move up from across this magic level here, and it's stalling out at the 812 level. It used to have a big cluster of pivot highs around May 2nd, but it's important to I guess, reiterate that these forecasts change, right? Like every night I automatically update the forecast based on price behavior. And sometimes they can change. So that big cluster of pivot highs around May 2nd is kind of dissipated. And it looks like we're in a bigger period of chop now. However, there's another nice cluster of 1 standard deviation up days in late April that you can use for a further move up. And just play it according to your preferred time frame. But overall, this is definitely bullish if you're a longer term trader. There's the probabilities of up days far outnumber the probabilities of down days. And we've got this nice pivot high over here in July. Okay, let's take a look at Adani Enterprises. Blasted up to the white magic level and beyond here, and then faded. Now, this is kind of standard price action around a white magic level. These white magic levels tend to take a lot of energy and time to cross, and likewise, they can also be very strong support. You can see back here on October 28th, it wicked down to the white magic level and below, and then boosted right up, crossing 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 Pythagorean magic levels on the way up. Those are the orange ones that are based on Pythagorean numbers. So we got a very strong boost up over the white magic level, and then it sagged down. This is kind of typical. I wouldn't be surprised to see Adani kind of churn here as it builds up energy to really separate from the white magic level. If it is able to separate from this white magic level, that would definitely be a strong buy. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it bounce between 21.28 and 22.99 here. And maybe it's this cluster of 2 standard deviation up days over here in mid-May that really allow it to separate from that magic level. And our last one today is NAUKRI, or Info Edge. And You know, this one's just kind of turning into an everyday average stock here with some scattered 1 standard deviation up moves heading into a big pivot high over here in mid-May. Looks like mid-May is going to be an important date for a lot of Indian stocks. You know, if you're in shares on this, I'd hold it long. Doesn't look like a great options play though. So yeah, that's a quick summary on NAUKRI. All right, so that is it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed that. Look forward to chatting with you next week. Good luck, good trading. Bye now.